Hello, once again, and welcome to The Shed. I am thrilled to bring a special guest into the studio today, someone who definitely holds a special place in my heart, none other than my wife, Sister Crystal Rose. Together on this episode, we will be diving into the practical topic that forms the bedrock of any enduring relationship. That's right, building a strong foundation in marriage. In the midst of life's hustle and bustle, it's essential for everyone that to reflect on the roots that anchor us together as a couple. Today, you will get a glimpse to our journey, the highs, the lows, and the intentional steps we've taken to nurture a foundation that stands the test of time. For 18 years, we've been doing this, and it's been a joy along the way. Whether you are a newlywed, navigating the adventure of marriage, or a person seeking insight to strengthen your own connection, this episode is designed with you in mind. So, join us as we share our personal stories, practical tips, and the role we believe faith plays in weaving the threads of a resilient and enduring bond. Grab a seat, grab your favorite beverage, sit in your comfy spot, and let's embark on a conversation about love, commitment, and the beautiful, beautiful journey of building a strong foundation in marriage. Once again, welcome to The Shed, where we explore the heart of really what matters the most, building strong foundations in marriage. All right. Thank you guys again for joining us here on the Red Shed, or in the shed that belongs to Reg. We are happy that you're here. Today we have definitely a very special guest that's coming in. We've been talking about this. Initially, our start out goal was to try to do a podcast a long time ago together. We did something on YouTube, or not on YouTube, but on Facebook a while back, but it never really panned out. So today I thought it'd be a great privilege and honor to invite none other than my wife in to the show on today. So thank you for joining us, Chris Rose.
Woo! Can you give me like that hand clap like thing in the background? Can you figure out how to do that? I want that. I want the applause. No problem. But thank you for having me on your show. I'm excited.
It's definitely cool to have us together. Usually I'm always here by myself, so I don't have to really have anybody to look at me while I'm going through the motion of trying to edit and do all those things. So it's just cool to have you in to the studio. So today we definitely are going to talk about a topic I believe that is important. Definitely talking about relationships and the importance of marriage and just the union of being together. So I guess we can start off by, I would say, you begin by telling our love story from how we first met until how it is now.
Okay, y'all gotta cue the Love Jones music. Okay, how we first met. I was downtown Houston at a spoken word poetry club, and I was with my homegirl, and we're just having a good time. And that's what we did on Sunday nights. We went to the spoken word poetry clubs, and this particular night, my friend had a friend who was, speaking, so we were supporting him. And next thing you know, I guess he invites my husband to the poetry spot. So he and I get to talking, and then later on, all four of us kind of like move on to another location. My girlfriend and I, we lived in the same apartment building, same apartment complex, but one building away. So we were all at our apartment. And then Reg and I kind of like talked all night, and it was about 4:30 when he asked me, so what are you doing later on today? Because now it is now Monday. And I was like, nothing. I guess we can hang. And then from then on, it's been history.
So for the record, so people will know, when we first met, it was no instant sparks or instant, like we finna be boyfriend and girlfriend. It was, hey, you seem cool, I seem cool, we can be cool, let's hang out. I would say for me, definitely in relationships, I never seen a real good healthy one. So I avoided relationships at all costs. And I was known for just telling everybody, hey man, we're just kicking it. So even when I met her, that was the kind of thing. I liked her. I thought she was fly. And I was like, well, hey, we can kick it. And that would be the extent. And that was, basically how I would try to, go about handling the situation. But over time, from first meeting to now, those years just got better and better. I mean, every one relationship turned into two, and then two turned to five, and then 18 years in marriage. So definitely, our love story is one that probably could be in the movies, but we never did publish it. But we definitely, I would say,
but it was a quick courtship. So even
yeah, very
like,
very quick.
We just friends, please. We met in October of like 2004. My birthday is March, in March. So in March in 2005, he proposed. That same year, we got married.
Yeah.
So it was a quick courtship.
It was a quick courtship because my thing is, when you know what you just go for it. And if God is pushing you to do something, don't hesitate to do it. It may not all seem to be right at the moment, and you may hit your head along the way. But our love story definitely is one. And
you know what else we should tell them?
What?
Like, okay, so back then I was hanging out real tough. I think we both were hanging out real tough.
Oh yeah,
like
definitely.
Individually, we was hanging out like tough. Like I was living my best life. I had my own place, all that good stuff. But it was right around December when you was like, "Hey, babe, I think I've been called to preach," and that is what kind of like shook me for a little bit, because what you have to understand, like I went to church. Like all my life, I went to church, but I didn't have a relationship with Christ. But I went to church. Reggie is like born in the church, bred in the church, all these generational preachers. Like that was not me. I hadn't developed a relationship at the time. And so he would say, he told me, he was like, man, listen, I think I've been called to preach. However, I understand that this is a huge calling on my life. So I think you're the one. And I know we've only been dating for a short period of time, but I think you're the one. So if you do not want to go on this journey with me, I understand. But I would hope that you would kind of like stick around with me. And I appreciated that you gave me the ability to choose, because I was like, what? Preacher? I didn't see that in the cards. Me and Reg was like hanging, having a good old time. So I didn't see that. But I told him, hey, listen, I see greatness in you. I didn't know what that meant at the time. And I was like, hey, I'll stick around. And then, geez, it's been a long time now I've been in the game with you. So.
Yes, definitely. That was one of those things. Just as a man, I didn't want to just automatically assume that somebody would be cool with what God had called me to do. So I was like, hey man, if you need it out, here it is. No hard feelings, no nothing. But I think you're the one. And sure enough, she was the one. She stuck in, and that's kind of how you know a person is the one. When you are facing challenges, and I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. That's one of our topics later on in the show. It's about how you deal with conflict when it comes and challenges, because every relationship will have its challenges. How you deal with them and how you overcome them, however, is what's crucial. So let's move from how we first met, and let's talk about, I would say, the importance of building a strong foundation in a relationship. How important do you feel it is to build a strong foundation, and how big do you think faith is in a marriage relationship?
It is huge. And listen, I think we learned the hard way. I think we learned the hard way because our foundation wasn't set technically until like year 2 of the marriage. Because listen, I ain't gonna lie. Year 1 was a learning year. We hadn't found a structure, a foundation, and we was just like learning as we go. And we had a time. I don't know if I could tell the people, but we had a time. It was a time when my shoes was in the trunk, and I was going back to my mama house.
Yeah, let me pause in right now. She packed all her shoes.
No
Only
clothes.
shoes. No
Stupid.
clothes, no deodorant, no toothbrush, toothpaste, shoes. Okay, back to you.
Okay, so listen, so my shoes are in the trunk of my car because I'm like, no, this marriage thing is not working out for me. I'm going back to my mama house. And then my mama was like, that's not how marriage works. You can't come back here. So I kind of like looked at my mama kind of sideways. And then Reggie's parents caught wind of what was happening, intervened, and from that intervention, it changed the trajectory of our marriage. Really, that's when we started really putting the foundation together. We looked at each other first, like as individually, and measured ourselves up to God first, and seeing if we were right as individuals before we could come together. And then Team Rose was set year 2.
Yeah, I think that a lot of relationships don't have a foundation built on Christ initially, and they suffer because when they go in with this thing like, oh, I want to be married, I love her, I love him. All that stuff is good until the rubber meets the road, and then there's expectations, and then there's unspoken expectations, and there's not a clear, I would say, path that you know you have to be on, and only God can give you that. So having faith in God in those times and having spiritual people around you at that moment definitely helps. Like her mom, my parents, they were very inspirational in that moment to definitely say, no, your guys got to work through this. You can't just pack up your shoes when you have one disagreement or something happens that you don't like. And I'll be transparent. I'll go ahead and be transparent. I'll go ahead and tell the story. So in that time, I was a drummer. I played drums basically for a living, and unfortunately, because I had been single for so long, it was hard for me to disconnect my singleness, if you will, my single way of thinking, the concept of spending money. All of these things were not where they need to be. I didn't understand the idea of, leave and cleave. So she's actually cleaving everything about her person to me. That means her finances and everything else. And I was still having like this single man's mindset. Well, that snare drum, man, it's only $400. What? $400? And then that's when the shoes got packed in the car, because I didn't realize, it was $400 that I thought, okay, I'll play a gig or something and I'll get that money back. But in her mind, it's like that's taken away from the household. So definitely us having that little, and like I said, I guess you'll be talking about challenges all through your relationship, because that's just a part of it. You're going to have challenges in the relationships. If I would say one of the things about faith that helped us in our marriage is we started early. I would say practices and different things that we used to do. We never curse at each other.
Oh, yeah.
We definitely pray for one another. We pray with each other. And we definitely made sure we both identified that you are not number one, I'm not number one, we both are number 2. God is number 1, and then it comes us, and then everybody else follows suit. So knowing that God is first, and then making sure that we both understood that was key.
Yeah.
Would you like to chime in on that a little bit?
No, I think you're absolutely correct. Fighting fair is important. And when I say fight fair, because I understand it's going to be disagreements. Reggie is his own person. I'm my own person. We grew up totally differently. His family structure was totally different from mine. So we kind of are bringing our idea of the family that we are trying to build based on what we've seen in our own households, and then trying to come up with something totally new. So that takes work. And so you have to learn to disagree, right? You have to, understand that, hey, this is my partner. The Lord has sent this person to me, so I'm going to treat him with the utmost respect. I'm going to make sure that I'm lining up under the authority of the Lord first, and then seeking guidance from him before I'm going to approach my husband. But it is true, fighting fair is like a huge thing. So I'm very watchful, and I'm very intentional about the verbiage that I use with my husband.
Yes, yes, definitely. We both have to be careful with our words. I have a way of not speaking yet speaking. My face, facial expression, and all of that says a lot. So I had to work on that part of communication, nonverbals. Definitely had to work on the nonverbal communication because I didn't have a problem with not saying harsh things, but my face will tell you exactly what my soul is feeling at the moment. And sometimes it's not the best because what you say in the moment, I'm not thinking, I'm just reacting. And that was one of the biggest, I would say that's one of the biggest things that I learned from Crystal, is that she told me to think first, react second. And that has taken me on a lot further on, because I was a hothead. So I would pop off. Peter pop off, ready to pop off. Yeah, but not no more. That's changed, so it's good. It's good. Thank you. Yeah,
let me give you a love deposit
right there. I'll try to make sure I put the echoes of music in that too. So
okay.
All right, so let's go on to the next thing. We met each other.
Mm-hmm.
We definitely understood what the foundation was.
Yep.
But then all of a sudden, 5 years into marriage, everything's going well. We're traveling. We're in Louisiana. My cousin is getting married, and all of a sudden we get hit with the challenge and joys of parenting. We became parents of little Reg, and then later on, 4 years down the line, heaven came along. So the question is, how are we navigating parenthood together?
It is an everyday, like, we're learning on the job. I never thought, I don't know, maybe TV makes parenting look, I don't know if they make parenting look easy, but I think for us, we're so intentional about the parents that we want to be, and we try to be as intentional as possible with what we are doing, because, like, this is our real life classroom.
Right.
And our kids are our real life students. So we are trying our best to teach them, where this is a Christ-centered home, how to deal with conflict, how to build relationship, like all of this in our house. So I think we're just navigating it the best that we can. I mean, we are a team. We're Team Rose, and it can be challenging and difficult.
It can. And let me say this. Let me make sure I put my camera on so people can see what I'm saying. Sometimes these children, you fill in the blank. That's all I'm gonna say. They test your nerves. They test your patience. And I mean, they have a way, man, of just saying the wrong thing at the wrong time. But because they're our children and God has given us, and I always tell people this, they're not mine by ownership, they're mine by stewardship. So all I'm here to do is steer them in a godly direction, teach them different things. Even right now, me and my son are going through a father and son Bible study together, because I believe that it's important for him to understand how important the Bible is and God is, and what strength in God and strength in him can do for his relationship with other people. So building that confidence is important. So and I have to send out kudos, because my wife, she's the one who kind of saw and like, hey man, why don't you try this? And for me, if it's a Bible and it's a lesson, give it to me. I'm ready to go. So it was a great thing for us to come together, and our family is close. It's a close knit little bunch, and I know that many people don't understand this concept that I have created, that this Team Rose. One, two, three, four. It's four roses. Everyone else is extended family. I do my job when I can to be with other parts of the family, but my main priority is to be with my children, my wife at all times, because that's who I'm responsible for leading and guiding on this journey we call life. We're not gonna have each other forever. You know what I'm saying? So our parents did their job. They did as best of job they could raising us. But now it's time for us to do the same with ours. And the time and effort you put in now, it'll definitely play a key role in your child's life down the future. I don't want my child to look back and say, well, my dad loved this one more or spent more time with this one. I want them to have a good balance, knowing, yeah, we face challenges, but we had a joyous relationship with our parents growing up in our household. So that's kind of what's...
Yeah, I've asked them before.
Mm-hmm.
I asked them, I said, or I asked little Reggie, I said, how do you feel like mom and dad? I was like, how do you feel like mom and dad treat each other? And he was like, you know what? I feel like y'all treat each other like royalty. And I was like, oh, pat on the back, yay.
Right.
You see what healthy relationships look like. And then I remember asking both of them, I said, who do you think is our favorite kid? And they both was like, me. That's my goal every day. If both of them feel like they're our favorite, then we are doing something right.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, because you never want a kid to feel, and it's a laundry list of people that I've had to counsel who get married, and they have grown up feeling like the other child was more important, and their parents did it, and I would say sometimes unintentionally.
Yeah.
We did a seminar. Me and my wife, we tag teamed, and we were doing a situation, and we talked about Joseph and his family and the family dynamic and how little things we do, we don't know how much it makes of a difference to other siblings. So as parents, we have to be very cautious of what we do and how we do it in the eyes of other children, because it could come off as favoritism when that's really not the intended goal.
Yeah.
But if it is unintentionally done, it makes an intentional impact on that person's life. So we want to be careful
to do that.
To do that.
And
so
plus, because every kid is different.
Every kid is different.
My son used to be so verbal, like had tons to say. I don't know if it's because now he's like about to go in high school. I don't know. But he used to be so verbal with a lot of things to say. Now he's kind of like quiet. He sits back. He observes. Whereas my daughter, oh, honey, there is no denying or questioning how she feels. She will let you know. But you have to be mindful of that, even though my son is kind of like quiet, sit back, kind of watch. You think, oh, he's fine. No. Like, I'm all up in him. Hey, how are you? I'm checking in. What would you like to do? Let's hang out. I don't ever want to assume he's cool just because he's not saying anything.
Right.
And so sometimes I think that's kind of probably in the parenting where somebody feels like, oh, we spent more time with him. Well, it's because you didn't say anything. It's not about that. It's kind of just being aware. So I try to be aware of my kids' behaviors, their differences, and kind of what they need, and tailor how we need to parent based on that, who they are as individuals.
Right. So that's a good segue to go on to our next topic, because I think the big part of learning how to communicate well with our children, we had to learn how to communicate well with each other.
Baby.
And that is difficult. So I know there's some tips, there's some pitfalls. So we want to share both the effective parts about it, also offer some advice for someone who's having some pitfalls in it, because it's not an easy thing. It's one of those things that's ever changing.
Oh, yes.
Communication is like evolving, and in your relationship, as you get older, the things you need. And it's not just about what you say, it's about everything. Your verbal communication, nonverbal communication, all of that has to definitely play a part in the idea of communication.
Yeah.
It's not just one dimensional. It's very multidimensional, and you have to figure out ways to do it effectively, because let's be real, guys. Sometimes you wake up on the wrong side of the bed.
Listen, and when you do, I'm ready to.
See what I'm saying? And like what's what was that, Jack and Jill, or what was that the show with the wife and the husband that was serial killers and they didn't know each other was serial killers?
Oh,
or they were assassins.
Yes. It's like the Brad Pitt, Angela
Jolie.
Yeah, okay.
And he's saying sometimes we just
Smith or something.
Yeah, he just want to choke her. I understand, but let me go ahead and put this in here, and I want to say this painstakingly clear.
Yes.
It's never okay for a man to put his hands on a woman. It's never okay for a woman to put her hands on a man. You should keep your hands to yourself because they belong to you.
I agree.
Your words, however, they do belong to you, but they can be offensive. So you have to be careful with your words and be cautious with your words, just like you are with your body parts. Just like you don't want to hit anybody, you don't want to hit them with your words as well. You have to make sure that your communication and what you say is to uplift and not to tear down. That's the goal. I have moments when last year I dealt with a lot of depression. So I had moments where I was just quiet, but I communicated to her there was nothing that she had done or the children had done. I was just going through a very difficult place. So I wanted to make sure I communicate that if you see me down, it's not you, because a lot of times we can take on something that don't belong to us, but if no one says it, then that becomes an issue,
Yeah, we've worked on our communication a lot, and y'all have to understand, I was 22 when I met Reggie, and he was 27, and now we're in our 40s. But now we're in our 40s, so you can imagine we are like probably 15 different people by now, but and our communication with each other has evolved over the time. So one thing I would say is just learn your spouse. Like, I had to learn how to communicate with him in a way that he could receive what I'm saying without being offended. Because, I mean, you would imagine in any relationship, you may have a disagreement, or everybody is just don't have the same viewpoint, but everybody needs to be seen and heard. And I had to figure out a way to make sure that I'm communicating with you where I hear what you're saying, and I don't want to offend, or I don't want you to react angrily, so I don't want to come off like this. I don't, and offensive. So I had to learn that, what the best ways to communicate to you where you don't feel like I'm coming for you.
Right.
And you're not offended. So I had to learn that.
Yeah. And I would say the best way to do that, learn your spouse.
Learn them.
And then definitely communicate out of cherish and out of love, not out of hate and spite and maliciousness, because that will always end up being wrong. So
wait a minute, babe, let me tell him this. You remember I used to ask you, I was like, babe, when I say, can we talk about blue, I was like, you always look like go. I was like, why do you have that reaction? And I think you told me, he was like, because typically nothing comes good after that.
Yeah, it always goes downhill.
So I just changed my verbiage, and I was like, hey, babe, I want to tackle this. I want to tackle how we're going to approach to pay down this debt. Let me show you some tactics, what you think. I don't know. You learn your spouse, but, there are certain issues you and your spouse may or want to talk about, and you notice they get this, like, or disinterested. Is that a word? Or, that look on their face, and, it's kind of like, I don't know why they're triggered that way, but you just try to figure out, another way to do it.
All right. So with that being said, we're going to go to another part that maybe not a lot of people have to deal with, but it definitely was a challenge for us, is the challenge of balancing ministry and marriage.
Oh, that was difficult.
Yeah. First of all, I think we'll probably put these next couple ones together, because we're talking about overcoming challenges. We're talking about how to, support each other.
Yeah.
Because all of that is all encompassing. Because ministry is our lifestyle.
Yeah. And see, look, this is a way for you to invite me back, because we just kind of like scratching the surface on all of this.
Right.
If you invite me back, we can get into the nitty gritty.
Yeah, like I said, this is one of those ones that's kind of like, I'll say scratch the surface, but also be able to give somebody some advice or some take back to know that, yes, we've been together for a long time, but it doesn't mean that it didn't come without any stress and struggles or whatever. So there are always challenges. There are always things that we often think about that, and we often work on that nobody sees outside of this.
Yeah.
And that's the key. So if you're not married, and you want to be married, if you are married and you want more success in your marriage, we're not giving you necessarily the blueprint. We're just telling you that it is challenging, it is tough, but with God, all things are possible. Yeah. But you got to have faith through it, and you have to work. Marriage is work. It's not one of those things that you don't have to work at. You have to work at marriage all the time. It's
a job that you have to go. Like, it's a job that I love going to every day. Like, it is that work. I want to put in that work every day.
Right.
Because it yields great results, and it's kind of like parenting. It's like, it is what you do. It becomes what you do, how you do. You want to get better at it. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
And for me, I would say being in ministry full time and doing all of that, then working and, the whole balance of it all, I knew that in order for us to have balance, it would have to be something that I had to work at, because at first it was hard. It was hard. I was at school. I was preaching every Sunday, teaching every Wednesday, and doing engagements, seminar, whatever the case was, funerals, weddings, counseling. And you definitely lose track of time, and you lose balance on your family because they need you as well. So that was one of the things that I could say that was a challenge that we faced, because I had to figure out how to not do so much. Yeah. And I would say, for those of you guys know, I'm a definite supporter of and encourager. If you're going through anything mental, go see a psychiatrist. It's okay. It's not the end of the world. All they're going to do is help you unpack some things. And my counselor helped me unpack this one reality. I can't do everything all the time. I have to choose one thing to do and perfect that. So I choose to perfect marriage. I choose to perfect ministry, but in different spaces of time. So in the daytime, when I have time away from my family, it's all about ministry. But when it comes down to the nighttime, it's all about family. Weekends, family. Extracurriculars, family. It's all about that, because I have to make sure that balance is there. So
can I give you a love deposit, because you have definitely improved on that. Love deposit, because we didn't always do that, right? We were in our 20s. Like I said, we met in our 20s, was in ministry right away. 5 years after we got married, our first kid came. You was on your way getting your bachelor's degree, then you got the first master's, the second master's. We was just like on this path. So we didn't always do that, right? I think now that we've had time to sit down this last year, we realize, like, okay, we got to do a better job of prioritizing, because people need us, but we need each other too, and,
right?
And then our kids need us. So it can be challenging, but I would say don't let ministry engulf you where your kids are lacking, or your marriage is lacking. You haven't even checked in. Y'all haven't even been on a date. Or spend some alone time together.
Oh man, and I guess that is a good segue. I was gonna go into another one, but we can go right into that one. That's a good idea to talk about making sure you don't forget to date.
Yeah.
Goodness.
Yeah. See, we had a good 5 years going before the kids.
Man, them kids, man, they have a way.
The kids came and rocked our worlds.
Yes, because they need so much all the time. And it's never ending. They always need a lot. So, but you have to, in your relationship, make sure you continue to date one another. Continue to show the importance of spending quality time away from the kids. And see, if you got kids or you have kids, it's better English. If you have kids like our kids, they are attached to our hips at all times.
They really are.
I can't give my wife a hug without another one coming.
I can't give my husband a kiss without my daughter there.
Perking up.
They
I was like, what's going on here?
Appear
Yeah.
out of nowhere.
So we have to make sure that we just and I would call it, you don't have to always make it a spectacular thing that you guys are doing. Whether you're coming home from church on a Sunday, you've already prepared food for them, and y'all just want to step out for a couple hours. Hey, date day, date night, whatever you want to call it. You want to just make sure you're spending that quality time talking. Because what those dates do, it helps you unpack your week, unpack your life, and spend that time with each other and see what's going on in each other's life. Because if you have kids and you have two like we do or more, that's more time you have away from each other. So you definitely need that time to kind of rekindle and reconnect, because it can get dry around here if you're not careful. Dry, like it get dry, like you're passing each other like strangers almost sometimes. So because you're so busy, it's like hey, bye, and then we're in and out,
right. And then if your kids are active like ours are active, I mean, we all of a sudden stepped into this place where somebody has somewhere to be every day at 7:00. So yeah, it can get very difficult. So you have to kind of be intentional and be like, hey, look, kids, 8:00. Okay, we're leaving, or we're closing the door to our room. We do not want guests. Okay, so yeah, that is important to make sure you check in with one another.
Yes. Okay, my final topic today, I think that we can discuss, because like we said, we talked about how we met. We talked about the journey of balancing life, balancing ministry, the kids getting involved, the challenges that we face, some of the hardships that we had to go through, some tips, some tricks for other people who may be on their way going down this path or just really want to be more successful in it. We talked about the importance of having date nights and making sure you stay connected together.
Yes.
One thing I think that we don't talk about enough is that when you get married, you're still an individual. You still have goals and aspirations and dreams that you want to accomplish, and it's never cool to put stuff on the back burner and never go after your dream. So I want to close with that. You know what I'm saying? I'm one of the people who you don't have to tell me or ask me what I want to do. It just gets done. That's pretty much how it goes. Where my wife is one of those people, she will put things on the back burner forever. And then kind of fear takes over when it is time to do something. So I am the dream pusher. If you want to do something, go ahead. Yeah. Whether it fails, whatever happens, hey, go all the way in, do it, and don't stop. You know what I'm saying? Because
I'm a dreamer, and this is where I would say the place where I kind of messed up a little bit in marriage. I just had my idea like wrapped around, my husband, ministry, the kids, whatever. And I did put a lot of the things I wanted to do on the back burner. And he didn't tell me. My husband did not say, this is not a good time. My husband is really, when he says he's a dream pusher, he is. If I would have been like, hey, I think I want to do this, he'd been like, okay, let's figure out how to do it. I took that role without anybody asking me to do that. So I just want to encourage any other woman, like, don't really get lost in marriage or lost in motherhood. I want to encourage you to be the individual woman that you want to be. If there are goals that you want to accomplish, I want you to go ahead and do it. Don't wait. Don't put it off. Don't say it's not the right time, because it's never going to be the right time. The kids are, it's never going to be the right time, but you will feel a sense of fulfillment if you go ahead and just do it. Like my friend, Tiffany Holmes would say, I'm just crazy enough to believe that it'll work out. So
right.
I did that, and I don't want anybody to do that, because that just kind of made me a little resentful of Reggie for no reason. And I had to figure out it wasn't his fault. Heck, it was really my fault. So if that's one thing I can leave with any woman today, is you are an individual, you are smart, you are great, you are, you are a wife and a mom, but you're also, and you get to fill in the blank.
Yeah, exactly. So you have to support each other, no matter what. And part of communication, like we said, it always evolves. There's always challenges in it. This is one of those things that we had to talk about because I just didn't know. I mean, and the resentment was there. There's other things there, but it wasn't until we had an open conversation over a date night that we were able to kind of hash out and say, hey, man, listen, if you want to do this, hey, there's no time like the present. Listen, this is what I do know. I'm not rich, and 90% of people who are in America are not rich. So we all have these same problems. We all have these financial things that we have to go through and trying to budget and trying to do all these things. But at the end of the day, you only have one life to live. So, yes. Hey, do your best, strive after greatness, and support each other in every endeavor of life. Now, I'm not saying support each other's foolishness, but I'm saying if they have a dream and it's actually there and you can see it, they can taste it, they can feel it, do it. This podcast was something I had been talking about for years. My book was something I had been talking about for years because I always write. I'm always talking. But I didn't, my thing, and she pushed me, was I don't know what people are going to say. So I was hesitant on putting myself out there because I was even the other night like praying to God, like, God, I'm not trying to be an influencer. I want to inspire people, to be better, to be their best person, or a motivator. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to get you. I'm not trying to sell you something. I want to give you faith. I want to give you practical tips that will help you navigate those challenges of life. Because guess what? Black men, we have problems. And we don't have a lot of people who talk about these problems openly. So that's what this platform is, to talk about all the different things that we may be thinking about that nobody else shares. That's what this is for. So, again, I'd like to thank my wife for coming out.
It's been fun, and I want to come back.
You are definitely welcome to come back, and we are definitely going to have you back. But as always, I want to thank everyone for coming out and joining us on this show. I believe that we are trending in the right direction. There's a lot of people who've been saying things and commenting. So please don't forget, you do that thing I just asked. Like, subscribe, and share. And be a blessing to the hosts to keep this content on air at $Reggie Rose 05. Until next time, grace and peace be multiplied to you all.